What's going on, YouTube? Claic Yuzolt back again with another Final Fantasy Brave Exvius video, and in the video today we're talking about Paladin Cecil, one of the best support magic covered tanks in the game. I'm talking he can go dark mode, light mode, whatever you need, he's got your back. And then we have Palom and Porom, an okay mage combo. I only say okay because of, you know, what is already out in the game. Very good, but those global buffs are really global buffs, if you know what I'm saying. Very, very little. But let's get into all of this so you can understand everything about these two. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so here is the banner. It's going to be a 4-star base and double 5-star base as we talked about before. We are going to go over White Mage Rosa really quick. Honestly, in my opinion, White Mage Rosa is really for the new starter player, which a lot of these 7-stars are used for. I don't even think mid-tier players are going to really use her too much because she kind of plays that role of doing a little bit of damage with spirit scaling and then being kind of the support healer, but there's so many out there that are better than her at this point in the game that I don't think a lot of people are going to get use out of her like they would some of the past damage dealers they can have a little bit of fun with. I just don't think she's really there. The TMR Elven Bow, again, two-handed weapon, tons of spirit, and all that good stuff, but it is a two-handed bow, and just a lot of people aren't going to be really using that as a support. If we look at the STMR, it is a bit better. Defense 26, spirit 38, and then you get LB up and LB fill rate up. You get LB 2 every turn, and then you get the LB fill rate up. So that's pretty good, and that's all free as long as you're grinding the King Mog event. Going over the abilities again, the big one I want to point out is the available in turn 1 5-turn cooldown. Get everybody HP and MP up by 50%. Auto revive for 3 turns. Increase that light resist by 100%. Now that is a very powerful CD, obviously, but use it on the first turn. Then you can use it for 5 more turns. And then her other abilities really just don't match up. I mean, after you can look at her abilities here. After that, moving down, she has like some of the white mage aspects to herself she can use, and then her LB is really lackluster as well. It does some damage, some decent damage, but in the end, she's not really going to be your damage dealer. It's not really helping that much, and then it just has a little bit of a heal over everything. So honestly, for me, after looking into her White Mage Rosa, a little bit disappointing. Look at that Sid! The big man himself. We have Stubborn Ox. We're not really going to go over the unit, but we will go over the TMR just in case you want to know about it. Increase HP and defense 20%. Auto cast Stubborn Ox at the start of battle. And Stubborn Ox is just going to, let's go to it so you guys can see. Increase attack 80% to caster. So it's going to increase your attack. It's not that big of a deal. Most units have that already, but 100%. And then you're going to be buffing higher than that. But let's move on to the 5-star bases on the banner. Probably what you guys are wanting to hear about the most. We do have Palom and Porom, and yes, they did receive global buffs, but it really was nothing. Like, they got a little bit to their TMR, a little bit to their STMR, and then the other stuff they did was like so small, they just wanted to show global upgrade on that. Not really the biggest fan of that, but as long as you guys stay educated, watching my videos, you guys are going to be able to know what's going on. So the TMR Prodigies of Massidia, we have increased MP 20%, magic 50%, increased LB gauge 3 per turn. Not a bad TMR at all, especially for magic damage dealing units, but a lot of the time I find myself really going in for the killer abilities and then a lot of the true double hand or true dual wield magic materias, and this might find it may be hard to like fit it in. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not something I'm going after. Like, I'm not going to pull for this mage duo just to get that, if that makes sense. And then the STMR for me is really lackluster. We have a robe here, MP 100, magic 70, spirit 68, fire resist 70%. The fire resist 70% is nice, but this is an STMR on a 5-star base unit. I guess they're only on 5-star base units. You know what I mean? You gotta get 4 of this sucker or use like prisms and UOCs and STMR Moogles. You don't want to do any of that on this thing. It's not that great. Moving on down through the abilities, one of the things that really hold this unit back is the fact that it really only does fire damage. It is really fire dependent. When you use this unit, you're probably only going to be doing fire damage, and the rotation is so simple, anybody can do it, okay? You're going to go in here, Palom's turn, decrease fire resist 120% for 4 turns to all allies, and then it gives you a quadruple twin magic. You know what you do after that? You go to their best ability, Chaos Wave Awakened. That's the big change, the global change. It was Chaos Wave, now it's Chaos Wave Awakened. Fire magic damage 6 times consecutive uses up to 24 max, which is great, and you start spamming Flame Force until this cooldown comes off. Prominence Force, available in turn 3, cooldown 3 turns, fire magic damage 37.5 times on one enemy, like a big hit, and then give some MP back because they are going to be casting the Flame Force a lot. So overall, again, if you look through this unit, that's pretty much it. They do have this ability here, Concentrated Comet, but I think if you take the time to cast this ability, you're missing out on renewing your quadruple twin magic sometimes, or your Flame Force is just going to be the better option. I think you actually skip over Concentrated Comet, but that's just what I've looked at early on. This unit can be built when single wielding any weapon, when dual wielding any weapon. You could go either way with the magic here. It's going to be really up to you. They do have a lot of LB up. Like you can see, like LB gauge up, LB damage up, enable dual wielding of one-handed weapons has dual wield in there for you guys, and then single wielding and dual wielding. Again, you could go with either one of those two. But the problem is, look at this LB. It's like trashed here, in my opinion. I mean, it's not trashed here. I'm sorry, because it does do a lot of damage. Fire, ice, and lightning magic damage. When this unit really imperils only fire, and then really you want to concentrate on fire damage. 21 times with ignores defense, 50% to all enemies. So 3 hits, boom, 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 big damage. But you're not even going to be using it because of the weird ice and lightning and fire. This mix of elements, just not what you want to be doing. This unit can do a lot of damage. This unit, if maxed out, really great build. And again, maxing out its rotation is super easy for this unit. Palom, sure, make sure that fire resistance down and just flame force them to death over and over and over 4 times or whatever. And then prominence force is what you're going to use when it's on cooldown. And it can do as much damage as Operative Zyrus, which is one of the top mages in the game. Not as much as the CG Darkfina. CG Darkfina is the top mage right now when it comes to damage dealing in the game. But, you know, if you end up pulling one of these, going for Paladin Cecil, you have arguably the second strongest mage in the game, but really locked into one element, and that is fire. I don't know if you guys know this, but early on in my FFBE streaming career, I've always wanted Cecil. He was one of the hardest. I used to call him Cecil. I don't know which one's right, Cecil, Cecil, but I remember seeing an official Final Fantasy IV cutscene. They called him Cecil. I'm trying to say Cecil, guys. But it was so hard for me. He's 3-star base, Excalibur, trying to get him early in the game. And it was so hyped when I finally ended up pulling him because it was so hard to get units if they weren't on banner, as it is now. Even a 3-star base. So that was before the days of huge well pulling, when it was just like tickets and a little bit of pulls here and there. But so I have a really strong feeling towards this unit overall anyway, not even just from the game. And this unit is absolutely baller, guys. We're going to go over him right now. Again, magic cover tank support type unit. Actually a dual type unit, which is pretty sweet. TMR, Mark of the Paladin, which I really want to get my hands on. Increase HP 30%, increase spirit 30% with a heavy shield, increase spirit 30% with a heavy armor. So if you're really suiting up, you got your magic cover tank, or even your support unit, anybody that can put this stuff on, you're getting 60% spirit with 30% HP. That is a lot of tanky stats, defensive stats ready to help you live through something. I want to get a couple of these, I hope, by pulling multiple Paladin Cecils. That'd be sweet. And then we have his STMR, which is actually pretty nice too. Attack 85, Spirit 165, with a Spirit 20% attached to it. Take that baby through Item World, which should be open right now, and you're going to be having a good time throwing that on any of these magic cover tanks anyway. So moving on through the abilities, you can look here. It looks like he has no abilities, right? He has a cover that is on a cooldown. Paladin's Protection Plus, available turn 5 turn cooldown. You're going to cover everybody like normal, but you're also going to heal yourself by a lot, split over 3 turns. So when you get to cast this, that's where you want to put that in the rotation when this is available, because you're just going to get an auto heal on yourself as a tank. What more can you ask for? Does have a provoke if you need it. Moving on down, we do have an like a full break for single target, going up to 60%, which 60% ain't bad, guys. If you can't fit a breaker in, this is a very, and also we'll see that you can get up to 65% on some of these breaks, but that's not bad at all. Then we have his normal Paladin's Protection, not the plus version, which is going to be the cover that Cecil's going to have. Then we have this cooldown ability here, available turn 1, 5 turn cooldown. Mitigate magic damage taken 75% for 2 turns to all allies. So that's 2 enemy turns. You are taking 75. That is absolutely insane. That amount of mitigation on your entire team is absolutely insane. I hope you guys understand, because units like Sylvie, I think, is like 25%. Some of the other units, 30%. This is 75%. Yes, it's only for 2 turns. Yes, you're going to have a couple of turns without that high magic mitigation. But to get through a lot of these fights that you can't get through, like these magic is just hitting you so hard, your whole team, this can really help you get through it. On top of that, it's not over. I thought that would be enough. Nope. Increase fire, ice, lightning, and light resist by 100% for those 2 turns as well. And you can use it every 5 turns. I think this is absolutely an amazing ability to have on this guy. And the guy's just tanky. We didn't go over his stats. He's a very, very tanky unit. I mean, he's a newly, freshly created, you know, from the JP side, tank, excuse me. Sorry, my mind went away a little bit there. So he's going to have the stats to back that up with the support. I think he's amazing. Available on turn 1, 6 turn cooldown. Add light elements of physical attack attacks for 2 turns to all allies, and increase LB gauge 10 to all allies. Now, this is kind of like a double-edged sword for me. One, it's awesome to have the ability to imbue everybody. That's going to be important in the future. You want to have external imbues, especially for dark visions, so you can go in there and your unit can just buff up and go ham, and then you can put, like, you know, the best weapon in. If it doesn't have an element, you can external imperil, etc. It might be good with, like, Myra. Myra can external imperil light that one turn you want to use it, and then he can imbue everybody. But also the other side of it is, and increase LB by 10 is awesome, but the problem is, like, sometimes you don't want that light on everybody, but you really want that LB gauge, and that's why it's going to be a little bit tough, and you're just going to have to learn to go through that on its own. Moving on down through so we're not even through the actual character. So you think, wow, that's it? I mean, this move and this move, that's pretty sweet, but is that it? Nah, it gets a little bit deeper than that. But we're going to go over his passives here. We have Resist to Sleep, Petrify, and Stop, which is great. We have HP and MP. We don't go over that. He does have increased chance of being targeted 50%, which I guess in some way, if you ever want to build a magic cover tank that is going to be your single target, provoke, evade, spirit up, elemental resist up tank, which a lot of people did with CG Charlotte, 50% right here can help you out with that, with the light resist 70%, helping you reach those goals of those elemental resist. He has a chance to counter magic attacks, light and dark resist by 30%, so that's going to put you up to 100% to light. Paralyze and confuse, resist to charm. This guy's resist to everything in the book, just naturally, which is phenomenal. You have a heavy shield or light shield, you're getting some more stats. We do have an ability here that he can counter physical or magical attacks with, which increases LB gauge 2 to all allies. So if he ends up popping this off, max 6 turns. Okay, so think about that. If he gets hit, and you make him into this single target, provoke, magic cover tank, you know, people have done it. He's going to also be able to counter with this ability that is going to give everybody LB gauge 2 a maximum of 12 per turn. Okay, it's a phenomenal. Autocast Unleash Power at the start of battle or after being revived. Unleash Power, increase LB gauge 100 to casters. So, the beginning of the battle, or God, this is so good, guys. We're gonna, sorry, I'm trying to, or when you get revived, you're just gonna have your LB ready to be cast, which is gonna help on a lot of things. One, once we look at it, how good it is, it's pretty good. And then two, for those LB battle, you know, it's like using LB. Well, if you have him, you have Warrior of Light or something like that, that automatically have their LB, you just cast it and you ain't gotta worry about anything else, which is sweet. We have to have his TMR, STMR equipped, which you will, because they're phenomenal. Autocast Overcoming Ordeals at the start of battle. Overcoming Ordeals enable skills into the dark, light defense, light, and I'll show you what that means. But essentially what this means is he becomes his light version of the tank, because he has a light version, then he has his dark knight version. You'll see what I'm talking about. His paladin version, his dark knight version, and then he also has guts, which we always want to see. So moving on down through here, Overcoming Ordeals. Again, that is going to be cast at the start of battle if you have his TMR or STMR equipped, which you want to have this on. And that's going to allow him to be able to cast all of these different, I'm going to turn triple paladin on, it's fine. All of these different light abilities at the beginning. So you see this, and into the dark, okay? So what happens with Cecil is that he has two forms. He has his light form, then he has his dark knight form. Both of them being amazing at supporting your team. As we can see, Light Wall, increase fire, ice, and light resist by 80% for 5 turns to all allies. Cast it whenever you want. Look at those stats. That's incredible. He can be a recover HP 4,000 to all allies. He can revive a KO'd ally. Increase defense and spirit 180 for 5 turns to all allies. Paladin's Blade. These are the breaks that he has, the attack and the magic. So he's not breaking the defensive side of the stats, but he can do 65%. If you don't like the 60% to one enemy, you can do the 65% for attack and magic, make them hit you a little bit less. Then you can cast Into the Dark. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that these can all be double Paladin Bladed. So like, you don't have triple cast unless you're in the dark form, triple Paladin Blade, but if you're in the light form, you can dual cast all these abilities. So while he's covering you, while he may be provoking for you and countering, getting your LB up, he also has access to all of these other, besides the CD abilities we talked about above, all these other support abilities, which are absolutely phenomenal and insane. Then you can cast Into the Dark, mitigate damage taken 75 for 1 turn, so he becomes really, really tanky, and then he becomes the Dark Paladin, or the Dark Knight, where he's going to unlock triple Paladin Blade, so he can be able to triple cast, and then he gets all these dark abilities. These abilities will cost his HP. That's how Dark Knights work, but you can see what they can do. Increase water, wind, earth, and dark resist. So in his light form, he covers fire, ice, lightning, and light. In his dark form, he's covering water, wind, earth, and dark resist. You have access to 80% and 100% on that CD, but 80% on either way with this unit to cover you in a lot of these different elements. It's absolutely great. HP, take away 20 from yourself, recover 100 MP for everybody. So he's an MP battery. Auto revive 100% HP for 5 turns to one ally. So he has this re-raise. He can only put on one person, but he can at the cost of HP. And again, you may be spending this HP, but you may have that cover on that allows you to, get HP back at every turn. So that could be helping you out as well. He also heals, so whatever. So his dark side is going to buff attack and magic, where his light side was buffing defense and spirit. As you can see, his dark side wants to go in and break those defense and spirit stats, so your team could be doing more damage in battle. And then if you want to go back to the light side, cast into the light, mitigate damage taken 75%, you go back to W casting or dual casting, and then you unlock all the abilities we talked about above. So again, you start in your light form and you have all of these options available to you. If you want to go to his dark form, if you want to be casting some of these different ones, you can go to his dark form, and all of this is available with his other abilities above. And last but not least, his LB, magic damage 24 times with spirit scaling to all enemies, so it does do a little chunk of damage because you are building with a lot of spirit. Mitigate damage taken 50% for 5 turns to all allies. An amazingly long general damage mitigation that is available in turn 1. I know a lot of times you want to start with a cover, but this is available to turn 1 because, again, he gives his LB when he dies and comes back, or when he started a battle, he gets his LB all the way filled up anyway. And then increase LB gauge 5 to all allies except for himself, so he is an LB battery as well, as we've talked about. Again, guys, I think Paladin Cecil is a cut and above almost all of the magic cover tanks. I'd say the only one that comes close would be Lucas, which is why it's tough for me. If you already have Lucas and you're not really sold on a lot of these things, you can definitely skip to him. It's not that big of a deal. But if you were looking for an upgrade and you're thinking, hey man, even Chow was disappointing with it. I'm sorry guys for all you Chow fans out there. Very disappointing with his upgrades. I thought they would make him insane. They didn't, because I guess Paladin Cecil was right around the corner. This guy is great. And if you look at the banner again, Palom and Porom, not as great as we thought they would be with the global buffs. They're still strong, right? I'm saying tied around second strongest mage, but tied to fire damage. So you could get one of those mages if you need one. And then, so that's not a bad option to end up getting as like the booby prize on the banner. But Paladin Cecil is going to be, in my opinion, the best magic cover tank. Lucas gives him a run for his money, but he would be the only one. And Sid's just sitting on the back laughing. So it's up to you if you guys want to pull on it and keep going. But if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you're pulling or you're sticking strong. I know there's going to be a ton of CG Charlotte fans being like, I'm staying with my girl and you were supposed to be on our side. Sorry guys. Give this video a like, please guys. You guys are doing so well with the likes. It really helps out the channel and boosting up who can see our videos. Comment down below, like I said, subscribe for future content, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.